Hi, my name is Yellowstar from Team Solo Mid, and this is my basic champion guide to Trundle. In solo queue, Trundle is a good champion in general. He's really tanky, he has a lot of sustain thanks to his passive. He's really good at catching people, especially against champions that have really low mobility, and he can even cancel channeling champions. Regarding his weaknesses, he would be really bad in laning phase because he's a melee champion. He doesn't have a lot of control, but it can be really hard to lane against high poke champion, but he synergizes really well with ganks. For the laning phase, try to get level 2 before your opponents in order to get pillar and go for trade. Trundle has a lot of sustains, thanks to his passive and stacks from Targon. So as a melee support, you need to get control of your own bush, and Trundle is really good at it because he can kill the trinket ward really easily with one auto attack, Q spell, and the reset of the auto. So try not to push your lane in general, because Trundle is a melee support with high mobility and a skill to slow the opponents down with a pillar, which means that if they overextend on the lane, it's really easy to get close to them and maybe catch them to force them to use summoner spells, or even with a gank you can even kill them and get an advantage out of it. When you're ahead, then you have two options. You can push the enemy's towers, but you have to make sure that you have vision so you can see the opponents coming for you. Or if you don't, then you can just freeze out the lane and force them to overextend and kill them over and over. In teamfights, if you're opening it by using the pillar to catch carries, then you have to think if you can kill him really fast or not. Else, just let them run away by using abilities and peel for your own teammates. Depending on the team composition, if you have a go-in composition, rush for the immobiles enemy carries, else just zone them out by using the pillar and cover up your carries. Use ultimate on the tanks, slow them down so your teammates can kite them easier and kill them faster. Trundle is really hard to kill because of his ultimate, so whenever you use your ultimate on a tank, then you gain a lot of resistances, but if you get chain CC, then it can get really hard for you. So depending on who they focus, you have to take care, because 1 stun, 2 stun, and then you can die really fast by even not using any spells because you're melee support. So if you can get burst down, just use your pillar to zone the people out and then just kill what's really coming really close to the team. Trundle's pillar can be really annoying, and this is why he's mostly played. It can cancel, for example, Misfortune's ultimate. It can block an entire path between towers and walls. And most of the time, don't use pillar as an engage unless you want to catch someone really badly, if he has no escapes, if he has no flash cooldown, and he's out of position. Otherwise, just save it to separate enemies, so you split them into 2 groups, or just force them to use spells to run away, like flashes, dashes, or anything like that. So in general in the LCS, you would like to pick Trundle to lane swap most of the time because he's a melee support that is not really lane bully. Most of the time you have a really hard lane. If you're planning to play a lane swap, for example, then you can go for Trundle and then you can just roam all around the map. For example, if they have an immobile mid lane champion, for example Victor, you can just run to the mid lane, put a pillar down and then force him to use flash, and then you have like 4 minutes, between 4 and 5 minutes to come back and get a kill on him. So it's really good and really efficient to catch people and play on the map and just open it, because he's really good at catching them. The runes I use for this champion are 9 armor marks, 9 HP seals, 9 magic resistance glyphs, or it depends. I can use magic resist per level depending on the magic damage on the lane. So for example, if you're facing any heavy damage oriented like Annie, Brand, Sona, Zyra, all these champions that can poke with magic damage, I'd rather go for magic resistance glyphs. Else you would rather go for magic resistance per level. And as quintessences, you would go for armor, so you get really tanky, and you can go for trades, and for later on, it's really useful. For the masteries, I'd go for a 0, 12, 18. For the utility support, you would go for move speed, mana regen, and bandit, so you get a lot of gold from the minions passive. And then you don't want to be too squishy, so you are going for tankiness, so regen, HP, and then you go for a lot of armor and magic resist. That's basically how you want your melee support to be, because you don't want to be on the front line and just be too squishy and die really fast. Skill order, you would want to start with Q spell in order to be able to do a level 1 camp as fast as possible to have more damage. And then on the laning phase, you would go for the pillar, which is the E spell, to slow and catch people. And if you ever get level 2 faster than the opponents, you can even go for trade. You would surprise them by just landing the pillar to slow them down, and then you can just go for an auto attack and then just use your Q spell, and you would get a lot of damage. If your jungler is ganking level 3, you can sometimes put 2 points in the pillar level 2, and if not, then you would just go for the W, which is the spell you have to take so you can move faster. And then you would max E over W over Q, and whenever you can just pick the ultimate. Regarding the summoner spells, you could go for Flash and Exhaust, so you can slow and catch the opponents easier, and with that Exhaust you can even deny a lot of burst, so you can even protect your teammates from them. For the item build, you can start with a Targon, 3 potions, and a War Trinket. If you can afford Tidestone in the first base, then go for it. In the case you're basing before you have the money for Tidestone, and you're playing a very difficult lane where enemies has a lot of poke, then you could go for the Targon level 2, so you have more sustain. Then after getting Tidestone and Targon level 2, I would advise you to get Ionian Boots of Lucidity to have more movement speed and cooldown reduction to get the pillar faster. For the next core item, you have to see which one is the best. You can whether go for Face of the Mountain or Locket of the Iron Solari, if they have a lot of magic damage in their team composition, for example. Thanks for watching this basic champion guide. Make sure to check out the rest of the guides over at lolclass.com.